One introduction. My name is Bella. I am a receptionist. I work at a very big hotel in the city. My life was simple. Every day I sat at the front desk. I helped guests. I answered phones. I gave out keys. It was a normal job. I saw many people come and go. The hotel was busy, full of travelers and business people. My work was quiet mostly. I liked my routine. It was easy. One day, a new man walked into the hotel. He was very tall. He wore a nice, dark suit. He had a kind smile. His eyes were bright. His hair was dark. When he spoke, his voice was deep. It was also very warm. His name was Greg. He asked for a room. I helped him with his check-in. This first meeting was short, but I felt something different. The air in the lobby changed. It felt lighter. After that day, Greg started to come to the hotel often. He did not stay for just one night. He stayed for many days at a time. He always came to my desk. He asked me for small things. Sometimes he needed directions. Sometimes he asked about a good restaurant. Other times he just wanted a coffee. He always spoke to me. He made me feel important. He always smiled at me. His smile was very nice. It made me feel happy. I started to wait for him. Every morning, I hoped he would come to the desk. Every afternoon, I looked for him. When I saw him, my heart felt a little jump. I liked talking to him. I liked hearing his deep voice. I liked seeing his smile. I thought about him when I was at home. I thought about him at work. My feelings for him grew bigger each day. It was a new feeling for me. I started to understand. I was falling in love with Greg. It was a quiet feeling at first, but it grew stronger. I knew my simple life was changing. Too, he asked me out. One evening, Greg formally invited me to dinner. He stood at the hotel front desk, his smile warm. My heart jumped with nervousness and excitement. I felt very happy, but also a little scared. I wanted to look my best for him. I immediately called my best friend, Clara. I told her about Greg's invitation. She was very excited for me. I asked if I could borrow her red dress. It was a beautiful dress, and I wanted to feel confident for our first date. Clara was happy to lend it to me. The evening of the dinner arrived. I put on Clara's red dress and felt a new kind of confidence. The restaurant was very fancy, a place I had never been. Soft lights made the room feel warm and quiet music played. Greg was already there, waiting for me. He stood up when I arrived and smiled. We sat at a quiet table. We talked for a long time, sharing stories. Greg listened to everything I said with great interest. He made me feel comfortable and important. Then he looked into my eyes. His voice was soft. He said, "You are different from everyone I know." My heart started to beat very fast. Hearing those words felt incredibly special. That night marked the true beginning of our relationship. After dinner, we started seeing each other every weekend. Our days together were filled with laughter and new experiences. We went to different places and sometimes just talked for hours. Every moment with him felt like a gift. I couldn't believe how much my life had changed. Greg, this charming man, truly liked me. Before him, I thought I was just a normal girl living an ordinary life. But with Greg, I felt important and chosen. He made me feel like the most special person. He lifted me out of my simple routine. Every day felt brighter and more exciting because of him. I looked forward to every moment we shared. Our time together was like a dream, a feeling I had never known before. I felt a deep happiness that changed everything. 3. A different woman. Bella was very happy. She and Greg were seeing each other every weekend. He made her feel special. One day, Bella had an idea. She wanted to surprise Greg. She decided to go to his apartment. She thought it would be a nice surprise. She bought some flowers for him. She wanted to see his happy face when he saw her. The sun was shining. Bella felt excited. She took a bus to Greg's apartment building. It was a very nice building. She had never been there before. She walked into the lobby. It was clean and modern. She felt a little nervous, but mostly happy. She found his apartment number. It was on the 3rd floor. She walked down the quiet hallway. She stood in front of his door. Her heart beat a little fast. She took a deep breath. She smiled. She lifted her hand and knocked on the door. The door opened, but it was not Greg. A woman stood there. She was very beautiful. She had long, dark hair. Her clothes looked very expensive and perfect. She looked at Bella with a question in her eyes. Bella did not know what to say. She just stood there holding the flowers. The beautiful woman spoke. Her voice was calm. She said, "Are you here for Greg too?" Bella's world stopped. Her smile disappeared. The words hit her hard. For Greg too? What did that mean? She felt very cold. She could not move. She could not speak. The flowers felt heavy in her hand. The woman saw Bella's confused face. She stepped a little out of the apartment. She said, "My name is Emily. I am Greg's ex-fiancée." Ex-fiancée? Bella thought. The word sounded strange. But Emily's eyes, her calm face, her perfect clothes, they did not look like an ex. She looked like she belonged there. She looked like she was still important to Greg. She looked like she was still with him. Bella felt a terrible pain in her chest. It was hard to breathe. Her mind raced. Greg had never told her about an ex-fiancée. He had never told her about Emily. He had never told her about this part of his life. Emily waited. She looked at Bella kindly, but also with a knowing look. Bella felt small. She felt foolish. She felt like a stranger. Greg had a secret, a big secret. And this beautiful woman, Emily, was part of it. Bella looked at the open door. She could see a little inside the apartment. It looked warm and lived in. It looked like Emily lived there or visited often. It was not just Greg's place. It was a place with secrets. Bella felt like she was in a dream, a bad dream. The man she loved, the man who made her feel special, had a different life. A life he never shared with her. He had a secret woman, an ex-fiancée, who was still close to him. Bella felt lost. Her heart was broken. She could not understand. Everything she thought she knew about Greg was wrong. She just stood there, unable to move, unable to think clearly. The beautiful flowers in her hand seemed to mock her. She felt like she could not breathe anymore. A big party. 3 days passed, 3 long days. I did not see Greg. I did not hear from him. My heart felt heavy. I thought about Emily, the beautiful woman at his apartment. I thought about Greg's words, "I love you," and then her words, "Are you here for Greg too?" It was a very confusing time. I felt sad and lost. I did not know what to do. Then, on the 4th day, Greg came to the hotel. He looked tired. He held a big bunch of red roses. He walked to my desk. "Bella," he said, his voice soft, "please talk to me." I looked at the flowers. I looked at his eyes. He seemed really sorry. "Emily is in the past," he told me. "She means nothing." "I love you, Bella, only you." I wanted to believe him so much. I wanted to forget Emily. I wanted to forget the bad feeling. His words sounded true. My heart wanted to trust him. "Okay," I said quietly. He smiled, a small, hopeful smile. "Good," he said. "There is a big party tonight. Will you come with me?" I thought for a moment. Maybe this was a new start. "Yes," I said. "I will come." That night, Greg picked me up. We went to a very fancy building. It was huge. Bright lights shone everywhere. Many expensive cars were parked outside. Inside, the music was loud. People were laughing. They wore beautiful clothes. Men wore black suits. Women wore long, shining dresses. There were many cameras, flashing lights for photos. Waiters walked around with trays of small food and glasses of champagne. I felt very strange. I felt small. Everyone seemed to know Greg. They came to him, they shook his hand, they smiled. He looked very comfortable in this world. He was confident and happy. I tried to smile, but I felt out of place. This was not my world. My life was simple. This was a world of wealth and big secrets. I stood near a big window, looking at the city lights. Greg was talking to some people. They were laughing loudly. I heard a man say, "Greg, your father will be proud of this party." Then a woman added, "Yes, Mr. Lowell always throws the best events." My ears listened closely. Mr. Lowell, the hotel owner, Greg's father. My body felt cold. Greg was the son of the hotel's owner. He was not just a guest. He owned the place where I worked. He owned the place where we first met. He had a secret, a very big secret. He never told me this. He let me believe he was just a man staying at the hotel. Suddenly, everything changed. The beautiful party, the music, the lights, it all felt wrong. I felt foolish. I felt small. He had lied to me. He had kept this important truth from me. My heart felt heavy again, even heavier than before. I looked at Greg across the room. He was still smiling, still talking. But now his smile looked different to me. It looked like a lie. I felt deceived. My friend's advice. After the party, I felt very confused. I called my best friend, Clara. I told her everything. I told her about Emily and then about the party. I told her how I learned Greg was the owner's son. Clara listened quietly. When I finished, she told me to be careful. She said Greg's world was very different. She said it was full of secrets. Clara told me, "Don't lose yourself, Bella." Her words were kind, but they made me think. Maybe she was right. But I loved Greg. I wanted to believe him when he said Emily was in the past. I wanted to believe he truly loved me. I chose to trust my heart, not Clara's warning. I decided to believe in my love for Greg. I thought our love was strong enough. Greg promised me a wonderful new life. He said we could be happy. I wanted to start fresh with him. So I made a big decision. I quit my job at the hotel. It was a place I knew well, a place where I felt safe. But I wanted to be with Greg in his world. Then I moved into his beautiful apartment. It was a very big place, much bigger than my old home. At first, it felt exciting. I thought this was the start of something new and special. However, the reality was different from the promise. Life in Greg's apartment was not what I expected. Greg started to change. He became distant. He was often cold towards me. He worked late almost every night. Sometimes he did not come home until very late. He stopped smiling like before. We did not spend much time together. I felt alone in his big apartment. My loneliness grew each day. I started to wonder if I had made the right choice. One evening, Greg was working late again. I felt very sad. I was cleaning the apartment, trying to keep busy. I was tidying his bedroom. I opened one of his drawers to put away some clothes. Inside, I saw something shiny. It was a gold bracelet. It looked beautiful and expensive. My heart stopped when I saw a name engraved on it. The name was Emily. This was the final straw for me. It was a clear sign that Emily was not in the past, no matter what Greg said. My trust in him broke completely. 6. Greg's father, Mr. Lowell, Greg's father, invited me to lunch. I felt a little nervous, but also curious. I wanted to know what he would say. He chose a quiet restaurant, not too fancy, but very nice. When he arrived, he smiled at me, but his eyes were serious. He was a tall man with gray hair and a strong face. He ordered a simple meal, and so did I. After a few minutes of talking about the weather, Mr. Lowell looked at me directly. "Bella," he began, "I asked you here because I need to talk to you about Greg." My heart started to beat faster. I knew this conversation would be important. He took a deep breath. Greg was supposed to marry Emily. That was the plan for a long time. It was important for our family's business. Hearing him say it so clearly, my worst fears were confirmed. It was not just a rumor or a misunderstanding. It was a family plan. My stomach felt heavy. I thought about the gold bracelet I found and how Greg had been distant. Everything started to make sense, but it hurt even more. "So," I asked, trying to keep my voice steady, "Do you want me to leave him?" I expected him to say yes. I thought he would tell me I was not good enough for his son, or that I was in the way of his family's plans. But Mr. Lowell surprised me. He shook his head slowly. "No, Bella, I do not want you to leave him." He paused, looking at me with a kind expression. "I want you to know the truth. Greg is scared. He thinks love is just a game. He grew up in a world where everything was planned, even feelings. He does not know how to have real love." He continued, "He needs someone to show him what real love is. Someone who is honest and strong. Someone who can teach him that love is not a game, and it is not about money or plans." His words made me think. Greg was 32 years old, but maybe he truly did not understand how to love. I sat there, thinking about everything. Greg's coldness, his secrets, Emily. And now, his father telling me Greg was scared. It was a lot to take in. I felt a mix of emotions, sadness for Greg and for myself, but also a strange feeling of purpose. Mr. Lowell was asking me to do something important. When the lunch ended, I thanked Mr. Lowell. I walked out of the restaurant into the busy city street. The sun was shining, but I felt tears in my eyes. Yet, there was also a new fire in my heart. I felt sad because of the truth, but I also felt strong. I had a new sense of resolve. This meeting changed something inside me. I was no longer just a girl in love, I was a woman with a purpose. 7, I left him. That evening, I waited for Greg. He came home late as usual. My heart felt heavy. I knew I had to ask him the question. We sat in the living room. The air was quiet. I looked at him. His face was tired. I took a deep breath. "Greg," I said, "do you still love Emily?" He did not speak. He looked down at his hands. He looked at the floor. He did not look at me. His silence was the only answer I needed. It was a clear answer. It told me everything. My heart broke, but a new strength also grew inside me. I knew what I had to do. "I won't be second choice," I told him. My voice was calm, but inside I felt a storm. "I cannot be second. I cannot share you. I need a man who chooses only me." I stood up from the sofa. Greg still did not speak. He did not move. I went to the bedroom. I opened my suitcase. It was the same suitcase I brought when I moved into his apartment. I started to pack my clothes. Each item I put in the bag felt like a step away from him. I packed my books, my small things. It did not take long. I did not have many things here. When my bag was ready, I looked around the apartment one last time. It was a beautiful place, but it was not my home. It was his home, and it was full of secrets. I walked past Greg. He was still sitting in the living room. I did not look at him again. I opened the door and walked out. The door closed quietly behind me. I left him. The first few days were very hard. I felt very sad. I missed him even after everything. The apartment felt empty. My heart felt empty. There were no calls, no messages. It was completely silent. I knew I had made the right choice, but it still hurt. I needed a job. I looked in the newspaper. I walked around the city. One day I saw a small bookstore. It looked warm and quiet. I went inside and asked if they needed help. They did. I started working there the next week. It was a small job, but it was peaceful. I liked being around books. I liked the quiet customers. Slowly, I started to feel better. I was hurt, but I was also stronger. I was independent again. I made my own money. I lived in a small, simple apartment. It was mine. I felt free. I could breathe again. I was building my life again, piece by piece. One evening, I was closing the bookstore. The streetlights were on. It was almost dark. I was putting the last books on the shelf. Then the bell above the door rang. Someone walked in. I looked up. It was Greg. He stood there just inside the door. His face was pale. His eyes were full of pain. He looked at me and his eyes told a long, sad story. 8, a new start. Greg stood in the bookstore, his eyes looking sad. He looked tired, like he had not slept much. Bella looked at him, waiting. He spoke softly. "Bella, I was a fool," he said. His voice was low. "I was scared. I was scared of my feelings for you. I was scared of what my family wanted, but I never stopped loving you, not for one day." Bella listened. Her heart beat a little faster. She remembered all the pain, but also the good times. Greg took a white envelope from his pocket. "I wrote this for you," he said. He gave it to her. Bella took the letter. Her hands shook a little. She opened it and began to read. The words were clear and simple. "To the only woman who ever made me want to be a better man." Tears came to Bella's eyes. She looked at Greg. His face was serious, but also full of hope. He looked different from the rich, secret man she knew before. He looked like the Greg she first fell in love with, but more real. "I don't care about the money anymore," Greg said, his voice stronger now. "I don't care about my family's plans. I don't care about Emily. None of it matters. The only thing that matters is you, Bella. I want you. I want to build a life with you. A real life." Bella wiped her tears. She saw the truth in his eyes. She saw a man who was ready to change, a man who was finally honest. She took a deep breath. She thought about her new job, her new freedom, but she also thought about the love she still felt for Greg. She thought about the man who was now standing in front of her, open and honest. A small smile came to her face. She reached out her hand. Greg immediately took it. His hand was warm and strong. "Yes," Bella said quietly. "Let's start again." Greg's face brightened. A smile, a real one, appeared on his face. "This time," he said, holding her hand tightly, "no secrets, no lies, only love, always love." Bella nodded. She felt a new hope, a new beginning. It was scary, but also wonderful. They would build something real this time. Something strong and true. She knew it would not be easy, but she was ready. She was ready for this new start with him.